What's going on, guys? Back with the Balatro video here, and I saw a post about what is the worst hand in the game of Balatro, and it made me think you could really make a tier list for these hands. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that because I think there's some good discussion here. And there's not too much intro to really do other than let's get into the rankings. So, because I think there's a pretty clear tier one, and then obviously there are some hands that belong near the bottom. So, I think to start, you would put, I guess let's go in order. So, this is Flush House, and I think Flush House is solid. It can be a really high scoring hand. Um, And let's say you have two cards that are really good, but the ranks are too far apart to make flush 5 viable. It can give you a lot of strength quickly. Maybe in multiplayer Balatro, it's a very strong hand. Um, but I think that it's a lot easier to play flush 5. So I'm really kind of torn. I'm not putting it in S. I think it's A or B. And I think I'll put it in low A for now. I almost wanted to do B. Okay, for full house, I think you would think it should be a strong hand. It's highly ranked among the poker hands. It doesn't scale well. It's kind of hard to play, right? You have to pull a three of a kind and a pair. I think this one is not very good. I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna put this in C. Not really worth doing a Earth run. Flush 5. I think this is a really nice cap hand with death cards. It's easy to get going with suit changers. Scales really well. I think this is just a good hand. This is an S tier hand. Jupiter. I think it's pretty well documented that a lot of people who are newer to the game play a lot of flushes and that the card doesn't scale very well. Maybe that's because it's so easy to play. I think that ease really helps Jupiter into being something that if you have blue seals going and you are constantly leveling it up, it can get you enough to get through ante 8. And I think you use this a lot. It doesn't make it a high scaling hand, but it can get the job done. So I'm gonna put it in A above Ceres for that reason. Mars. I think Mars is a really good hand. It scales very well. You can start to do it with only a moderate amount of deck fixing, so it can be a transition hand to get you where you want to go, which might be Eris. And sometimes you don't even need to transition to Eris, you just win with Mars. So I think this is very strong. I think it's right up by Eris. And I think we can leave Eris ahead of it, but these are almost tied. It's very useful. Mercury. I really like this one. I think playing a pair is really easy. You can kind of just play any pair. It doesn't really need to be specific numbers or anything. Like playing around pairs, it's easy. It scales better than Pluto, and it gives you a lot of power. The reason why the hands that are lower on the rankings are actually more powerful is because of the flexibility. You're not required to have any specific cards in your hand. You're not really gaining power off of the cards you're playing. Your cards can be debuffed. It doesn't matter. All of your power comes from your jokers and the hand level in these situations. So I think great hands. I think in terms of flexibility, it belongs above all of these. And then we'll get to Pluto in a second here. But next we have straight flush. This was the consensus worst hand in the game on the thread I was talking about that inspired this video. And there's not much argument to that. Like, it doesn't scale that well. It's very difficult. Even when you set your deck up to play for straight flushes, there's no guarantee you're going to hit a straight flush, man. You have to have 5 different cards, right? Ace, king, queen, jack, 10. Like, if your deck is only 5 cards, sure. But you have to still pull a straight flush. So I don't think there's a lot of argument. It's the worst hand in the game. I have to agree. With Pluto, um, like I was saying before, there's a lot of power involved with having only any card you play is your hand. Um, there's no worrying about am I going to draw my hand. That is completely taken out of the game. And you have the power of everything else in your hand stays in your hand when you end the round. So you can have gold cards, steel cards, seals, anything that you draw, you get to use. It makes discard jokers very viable. It makes so many. It opens up the game completely. You're not worried about your cards being debuffed. Most likely, sometimes you need steals on your bench or something. But I think it's the strongest hand in the game. And it's funny because it scales the lowest, but it's fantastic. Now Saturn. I think maybe this is one of the more I don't want to say controversial, but maybe polarizing hands. There are people who really stand strongly behind this, and it scales really well. Can't argue that. If you're willing to put in the work, I would say it's kind of like work playing a straights run. Um, you can get rewarded with very high scores with minimal effort, minimal Saturn levels. But it's difficult. You still have to draw that straight. Deck fixing doesn't help as much. I think deck fixing straights is underrated though. If you go ahead and you remove the cards on the edges of the spectrum, that helps your straights. If you remove aces and twos and then kings and threes, you're slowly creating that middle ground and you're making it more likely. But, it kind of feels bad to like, you're playing straights and you get a death card. It's like, death doesn't even help that much in a straights run. So I tend to avoid straights, but it's still solid scaling. And I think it belongs in the A tier with these. And I don't know how you would really rank these. I'm going to just put it in the middle. I think these three are very close. There's not as much difference in the tiers here where it's like, is this an order? Like, yes, but like not really. Like the tiers are kind of pretty well defined. And there's a lot of movement in between the tiers that could happen. Okay, so now these next three are pretty interesting. We have two pairs. Very easy hand to play, doesn't scale very well. Now I say very easy, it's still not that easy, right? It's miles easier to play pair or high card. I don't think the reward is really there for this one. It's you would rather play something that scales better or is easier to play. It's in that middle ground. And there's one Joker, the Pants Joker, that really enables this, but that's too niche for me. It's right around Earth, and I think I'm gonna put it above Earth just because it's a little bit easier to play. But these are basically the same for me. Um, and then we have Three of a Kind. This is another one that's kind of in the middle. It scales better than two pair, and about the same as Earth, I think. Um, it's just a weird one. Like I don't really. There's like a couple common jokers that ask for Three of a Kind, but it's not really a real requirement for any jokers in the game. Kind of doesn't have a great place in the game. Might be my least played around planet card. Um, the scaling's okay, but I just think that there's always better options. I think I'm gonna go ahead and it goes below these. I'm tempted to move these up to B. I don't know if they deserve B, man. B might be blank here. And then we have Planet X. Um, this is technically strong, but not that much stronger than Mars. And it's so much easier to just get a couple suit changers and play flush five. And this is the only hand that you actively avoid playing because you don't want to see its planet card. So, you know what? I think I'm willing to do it. I think I'm going to do this. I think this can be a C tier. Technically good. You actually want to avoid playing this though. Because when you play that first Planet X, then you're going to be able to start seeing it in your Celestial packs, and Flush 5 is just better scaling, so you don't want to pollute your Celestial packs by playing a Planet X. Or Flush House for that matter if you're trying to get to Flush 5. So I think this is my list right here. I almost want to put Venus in C tier, but I'm okay with this. Let me know, guys, what you think about the hands in this game. Did I get anything wrong in this list? Let me know, and keep an eye out for more Balatro content. Thanks.